Peace and blessings. This is Raisa Ghiwala, the divorced Muslim coach. I'm here just driving through on a Sunday afternoon, and instead of sitting in traffic, I thought I would answer a question that I got last week about something that comes up with children that can get really messy in divorces. So somebody asked me this question: what do I tell my child when dad is not showing up, when dad is refusing or is not making an effort or time to communicate or to spend time with children? And honestly, what do I tell my child is when my father doesn't want to be around me or see me. How can I help my child really in terms of not feeling abandonment, or to deal with that feelings of abandonment, and how they interpret that and how they internalize that? So, my dear, what you can tell your child is that he is perfect just the way he is, just the way that Allah made him, and that because his dad is not seeing him or not making the effort or choosing to see him right now does not mean that he is not lovable. He is still loved, worthy, and valuable. Tell your child that Allah loves him. Allah created him, and you and all the other people in his life love him. And children, they get their foundation from their parents, their mother and their father, which we have, as parents, we have that role and those responsibilities as an amana, that we're trusted our children. So we are their first influencers. We are their greatest influencers. Everything that they learn, how to be, how to behave, how to feel, how to act, it comes through their relationship with their parents. And their connection to Allah comes from their connection to us, their connection to Allah as their protector, their provider, their maintainer, their sustainer. So get them in the habit of thinking that way early on, of thinking the way that we are a blessing to the child. It's a gift to the child, being their parents, and vice versa, that the child is a blessing and a gift from Allah. So Allah is the one that connects all of us. Allow your child to cry and to scream and to yell and have his tantrums. Of course, setting the limits to make sure that everyone is safe, but providing that safety and that space, holding that space for your child where he can just let go and express his feelings, which children do through behavior. And once he's felt heard and acknowledged and validated, you can assure him that there's nothing wrong with him. And that you could go on to say that you don't know why his father is doing this or is not choosing to come and see him, but it's a problem with the father. It's not a problem with the child. As an adult, he needs to fix that. You can take it off of him feeling responsible for his father's behavior or actions, and also help him to understand that his father's actions towards him are not a reflection of him. Because children, they get into the mindset of blaming themselves and feeling responsible to fix the problems for their parents, to adjust themselves so they can manage their parents' behavior. And at the same time, you want to leave it open for a dad to come and see him whenever he does, and be able to approach his son whenever he does. We cannot control or limit that father-child relationship unless it's abusive. And reality is that his behavior is a reflection of himself and not of the child. And another hard truth is that we as parents cannot protect our children from hurt, disappointment, or feeling negative emotions or any emotions, right? As human beings, they're going to have big feelings, just like we as adults have big feelings sometimes. And we sometimes have those adult tantrums or intense feelings. We cannot change that for our children. We cannot protect them from that. We can teach them how to manage it by allowing them a safe space for them to release, to be heard, to be validated. We can reassure them and help them and redirect them. We can help redirect their thinking, so they don't make the connection that A plus B equals C, that dad doesn't see me or want to be with me, so it must mean that I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. All those things that become your self-talk, how you interpret it and see it, because we not in our child's head, we don't know how they're interpreting it or they're seeing it, but we just can tell by their behavior of if they're feeling hurt or which we can't stop, right? We want to teach them how to deal with these emotions, not to suppress them or to ignore them or they act they don't exist. And the reality is that we cannot shield them from it, and it's because it's real life, right? But what we can advocate for is that it's not a reflection of them, it's not indicative of whether they're worthy or they're good enough, and it's real life, right? And if you do not have an amicable or collaborative relationship with the dad, it's best to just leave him be. You are not responsible for his behavior or his actions or how he interacts with his child or his relationship with his child. Even though you want your child to have a good relationship with their parent, you're not responsible for that. You're not in charge of that. You're responsible for your relationship with your child. So if you don't, just leave it, because otherwise it can backfire on you and your child. And if you do have a relationship where you can hear each other, where you can collaborate and work together, then approach the dad and explain how your child feels abandoned when he doesn't see the child. He misses him. He looks forward to it. He's going through disappointment. He's going to letdown, when he misses his visits, when he says that he's going to be there but he's not there. Encourage him to take part and make initiative and effort as contributing to the child's well-being, even though they're divorced. And just really remembering that you can just approach it from a place of non-judgment, from a place of expressing and communicating how this will be helpful to the child. And the reality is that whatever the other parent chooses to do, it's not in our hands. It's not our responsibility. It's not in our control. And we cannot protect our children from their parent. We can't even protect our children from ourselves when we yell or we scream or we get upset with them. Nobody deserves that type of behavior. But a lot of times, we unleash that on our own children. Until we start recognizing and becoming conscious of it. So remember to keep your feelings about your ex's behavior to yourself. Any judgments, which is so normal, can leak out in your communication with your child, and you may be rightfully angry and upset and hurting for your child because your child is hurt and frustrated with your ex. But be careful not to badmouth directly or indirectly through innuendo or insinuating this type of behavior. Good people don't do this or do that. I would never do this or I would never do that. Being conscious of your tone, being conscious of how you're addressing his behavior. You're not excusing his behavior, but you also don't want to cause more of a rift. Because the child will already be upset, hurt, disappointed, and you don't want to use that to cause more of a rift between the parent and the child. What he does, what he says is on him. What you do and what you say is on you. So, and perhaps also something to think about is also don't tell him about the plans or time with dad until it is confirmed he's on his way, and let the dad know that we're open at this time, and I'm not going to tell him because then he's going to be disappointed, and this is not something that you can do all the time, also because look, it's hard to deal with upset and disappointment. And this is a tricky one too, because we're talking about dealing with the truth. So the truth could be that dad is not owning up to his word. That doesn't mean that you're bad mouthing him. This is the truth. If that's what's happening, it's what's happening. And he is destroying his own relationship with his child. You could still help your child to have an open mind and an open heart about their parents, but you can't always protect your child from being hurt and disappointed. So that may be helpful to use, not telling your child in certain occasions, but don't rely on it, and don't use it as a standard of practice just to avoid them facing the truth and avoiding hurt. So those are just some thoughts I had about your question, and I hope it was helpful. Let me know what your takeaways are. Let me know what was helpful. Let me know what you'd like to hear more of, and any additional questions that came out of the answer that I shared. And anyone else want to shed some insight or experience about how they have experienced the situation when parents don't take responsibility for taking ownership of the relationship with their child. So thanks for listening. I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys soon. And don't forget, this Tuesday I have a workshop coming up called Get Through the Fog, and it's all about being able to, with clarity and confidence, create a vision for yourself on how you're going to reinvent your life. How are you going to help your children cope with a divorce and help them to thrive even after and during divorce? Because it's very normal to feel scared and confused and have fears and guilt and all these emotions that cloud your judgment and your decision-making capability on how to move forward. So this 3-hour online workshop is going to help you to create a vision for what you want for yourself through clarity and confidence, and see what challenges that are standing in your way and keeping you stuck, and how to overcome them moving forward in your life. I'm going to post the link below. Sign up and invest in your future forward. Thanks for joining. Take care. Peace and blessings.